Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome to episode number 170 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So how do we be more wild? How do we be more free? How do we find that sense of freedom and authenticity within our careers? And how do we actually break away from these societal norms and expectations? So you might be curious about pursuing unconventional and more adventurous paths in your professional life. So today's podcast on Wild and Free is going to inspire you to feel more alive, to be creative, and to allow yourself to be a bit more fearless and brave to be yourself in your career journey. So we're going to celebrate that spirit of being wild and free while still finding fulfillment and success. So what is the driver of all of this? So when you experience death firsthand, things change. And these questions often come up when people are on their deathbed. So the other day I was in Nashville. I was listening to a Garth Brooks song, right? We're listening to country music, and it was Live Like You're Dying. And if you haven't listened to that song, I would remind you to throw it on Spotify and find it because it's so good. And it just reminded me of one of the biggest catalysts for my own change and what got me to actually start making what felt like these big, brave, bold moves in my career. And it was a death, and that was the actual trigger. And it wasn't just one or two, it was three. And after the third one, where I was experiencing it close firsthand, I realized I didn't have as much time as I thought I did in this lifetime. It was suddenly this sense of urgency to figure things out. And it's a scary feeling being in your 30s, wondering if you've made choices in your life that led you to a place where life feels mostly good and looks really good on paper, but you know something deeper is missing. So it was this feeling of there being more out there, but not knowing exactly what that means. A feeling like there's more to be shared with the world. And for me, it came down to the sense of being more creative, writing, being more spiritual, to do work that was related to psychology, to human development, and something that felt unconventional. And I think everyone has their own sense of what that more could be like. And for me, this was unconventional. I didn't know anyone who did any of these things. Instead, I had chosen a more conventional career path, which was more analytical. It was more strategic in nature. It was a business route. It was business school after business school. And there were credentials and certifications and tests and exams, a lot of things that just boosted your confidence that this was right and that people would all think that you're doing the right thing. This is the smart thing and the stable thing and the thing that you should be doing with your career. I did supply chain, I did information systems, management consulting, sales strategy, operations, and I had a brief period during business school where I stopped working because I went full time. And I had more choice in how I spent my time. And I felt like I was more wild and free to be myself. I was in this growth mode, this learning mode, meeting a ton of new people, networking, and pursuing different career opportunities and really opening my mind to what could be possible. even though I was really focused on management and consulting. And during that time period, I also did my yoga teacher training. I traveled a ton, took 7 weeks off at one time and traveled with Jay, my husband. He took a sabbatical. We went through Europe, North Africa before coming back to quote unquote real life to start my management consulting job at McKinsey. So being wild and free within the context of your career isn't about having regrets. I do not regret that I chose these really kind of solid professional choices that were rooted in being resourceful and making money and having some kind of stability. Yet, when we start to realize that we can work, that we have the intelligence, that we're willing to put our mind and body and spirit towards something and really give it our best effort, the next level is now available to you. And that is about finding more authenticity and finding more fulfillment in your career by being more true to yourself. And this is also challenging. I recognize this, and this is why people need coaching through this. It's not always easy to challenge conventional career paths. It's not always easy to break free from the societal norms, whatever your version is of that. Like I said, mine was this kind of softer field, didn't feel as real to me. Whereas for someone else, that might be the most real thing. And there is a lot of pressure to stay on these traditional career paths, to stay on these trajectories, because there's a lot of reward in it. There's a lot of safety in it. Yet the reason that you're considering a change or a switch is because you don't feel like you're growing the way you used to. And we all need to grow, my friends. Your performance at work might even be plateauing. You feel it, that you're not tapping into that part of you that's really curious, that's interested, that's engaged in a topic. And there is a part of you that knows what it feels like when you're really completely engaged. It might have gone away for a long time, but there's a part of you that's still out there, the one that thinks, that cares, that pursues specific ideas and topics, even in your spare time. This feeling might be missing, but it slowly starts to come back when you nurture it. And this kind of ebb and flow happened to me slowly over the working years. It started as early as my first jobs out of school. In the beginning, I was just so engaged. I was making money. I was being resourceful. I wasn't making a ton of money, but I was so responsible with being good at work and doing my best. I was saving, I was investing, I was getting ready for graduate school. I had a plan. And that learning and that growth propelled me. I even had my 5-year plan post MBA, and it got me through those first 5 years post MBA. Even though I didn't look at a plan after I had made it, it was so embedded in me, which is why I think it's so important for you to actually have these big, wild ideas that are further out from you, just because it's a great exercise for our brain to even stretch to that possibility and imagine. And my years post MBA were very, very, very different than my years pre MBA. So this is worthwhile to actually spend time here. And when I didn't have a plan, when I wasn't sure, and I'm not talking about like a really detailed plan, but this vision of an intentional and conscious choice of what you're looking for in your life next. That's when the years came that felt really hard and painful. I had kids. My time felt even more crunched. And the hobbies, the passions that I had went away with my free time. And I was either being a parent, I was working, or I was working out. I didn't feel like there was any time to cultivate my sense of self. I was just treading water at the time. I didn't feel like there was any time to think about what was next. I felt even at work like I was in hiding, trying to make it all work with the time and the pressure. and the kids. And I didn't know that I could do what I really wanted to do. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I didn't think I had the bandwidth to try to even pursue those things now. I felt like I was really good at my work, which can be a trap. But also, the paradox was I felt like I was not really as good as I could be because I wasn't leaning into what really interested me or what really engaged me. And what I wish I knew then is what I'm telling you now, that this lack of engagement that goes on for a while is a risk. It's a risk to your career, it's a risk to your family, and it's a risk to your health. And it is really hard to hear, but I want to save you time. I'm going to save you energy. I'm going to save you and your family so much stress and years that just kind of go by with you being half there. When you're not fulfilled, it is a risk. It is a risk to your life and your career. When you don't care as much, when you have frustration in your daily life, anxiety, and boredom, it makes your work suboptimal. And instead of standing out like a leader, like you used to, you start shrinking back and your health becomes more at risk. Your work feels more tiring. You hustle and you burn out thinking that your career success has to work or your kids and their success have to work because those are the keys to you being really fulfilled. But the reality is you're just okay, even if you're working hard. And your career success isn't its own thing. It is driven by you and your energy. When that energy is not managed, when this actual place where the career came from, where the money came from, where the kids and your life came from, your energy, who you are, when that is not managed, it is a terrible cycle and it doesn't end because you have a couple weeks where work gets less busy or you take vacation. You, right, the well essentially is starting to get poisoned. And that constant feeling of knowing this isn't what you want, but you're not sure what you want to do next is made worse when things get stressful. And you know that you don't have this light at the end of the tunnel. You know that even when there are some breaks here and there, without that light at the end of the tunnel, you're more exhausted than you've ever been. You don't know why you're doing this anymore. You're not working out as much as you used to or as much as you would like, and you're not taking care of yourself and your mind and your mental peace and clarity the way you used to. Your mental health actually becomes a concern. Even if you're one of the people that everyone else relies on, and you're the one that everyone thinks is calm or resilient, it eventually catches up. And this is often where I see clients who are stressed and they're working really hard, but it feels even worse because even with all of the work, they don't feel like they're succeeding. They feel like they're failing. And they know, you know, that when you're overwhelmed and when you have a sense of resentment towards your work, it will eventually show up. Overwhelm shows up in a mistake. Resentment shows up in having attitude or a remark that you say, or oversharing or undersharing, and not delivering what you promised as well. And when you're at this level where you are now in your career, it doesn't matter what the reason is. It doesn't matter if it's out of your control. It doesn't matter if it's because you're super busy. It's still on you, and you're the one associated with the work. It doesn't matter if you have a terrible boss, if you're in a bad situation, your name is now associated. So you didn't work this hard and get this far to lose your reputation and credibility. You need to figure it out now. And you might even dream of just going back to your really easy job that you had at one point where you didn't really use your brain and maybe no one would notice that you weren't as engaged. And you might even think, oh, I can be wild and free in my personal time because I don't actually know how to do that and have a fulfilling job that allows for the work-life balance that I want. Yet for someone like you who has a drive and a desire to live your life deeply, You know that waiting and hiding out in your work and in your personal life and at places that feel like they're below your pay grade, that feels off. And you know that it's not what makes your work more interesting, inspired, and joyful. Like just kind of hiding in weird places at work doesn't do anything. You know that when you want true sense of wildness and freedom in your career and your life, it comes from feeling like you love your work, not just your friends, not just your family, but your whole life feels good and a whole life where you feel like you have options and not one thing is going to wreck your day. And your whole energy then feels more wild. It feels more free because it's this balance of stability and adventure that you take anywhere you go, even if you're just taking a walk around the block to clear your head. This is why you need to take smarter risks instead of risking your career potential, doing work that doesn't inspire you with people that don't feel as inspiring, within organizations that seem to be taking things out of your soul and your energy. And this is why you need to balance adventure with that sense of stability and make the tweaks, not huge, massive overhauls and complete change in, lifestyle, who you are, but a tweak that eventually leads to you figuring out exactly what you want to do sooner than later. And so in my coaching, I start off with creating space and time to stop doing some of the things that you are doing now so you can figure out how to create the actual time and space to figure out what you really want, what that wild and free life looks like, what really being authentic in your work looks like, and how does that show up as your work, as your leader, as the way that you spend your time doing your zone of genius. You need to figure out not just what you're good at, which often means that you can just handle lots and do many things, but what you're really interested in doing, what your next level and your edge is. And you need to stop getting stuck fighting fires in your work and move into the next thing. And you need to do it now. Do not try to find the wild and free feeling in things like food or just looking really good or drinking or just having an amazing weekend. Have the time of your life, but don't do it because other parts of your life are terrible. Don't try to just live it up as much as you can on vacation or the weekends before you get back to real life and the real world. That thinking is perpetuating this cycle. When you chase the high of the weekends, a purchase, a really nice meal, a glass of wine, nice homes, maybe your kids being really successful, lots of activities and activities and activities, it will eventually not be enough. And you know this because you see it. You need more weekends. Every weekend, something's happening now. Now it's like all the time is getting filled with your kids' activities. You need more money. You need more things. You need more houses, more nice meals, nicer things, maybe more glasses of wine more often. And your kids need to do more fun things so you can do more fun things. So things, other people, places, they don't create the wild and free life. Those things keep you chained to work, thinking there's no other way. It keeps you chained to the cycle of doing those things to feel the feeling. So what actually creates a life of wildness, a life of freedom? It is your spirituality, your personal sense of knowing who you are. That part of you that's bigger than any job, that's bigger than a place or thing. It might be a foreign concept to you. You might be curious about thinking, oh, am I not my job? Am I not my family? Am I not where I live and my work and the way people see me? No, you're not. Imagine knowing who you are, what you stand for, why you're here. And when you do that, you're no longer the tail, right? That's wagging the dog. You're your own self, and you start to understand how you're connected to the things around you, how you influence the things around you, how you change the reality of the things that you're in. And that gives you so many more possibilities than you are seeing today. Many times when you're stuck in thinking, I can only do this one job oh, or run away from everything, you're feeling stuck. And when you feel stuck, you don't make any changes. So you have to find something in between. And that in the in between, you're going to see that stuff and work doesn't make your life better. It's you. And when you know that, when you start working on yourself, you'll finally get off that hamster wheel of the career and the job you've had forever. It will feel weirdly effortless. I'm telling you, it happens every single time. As soon as people start working with me, something changes in their career and their life, and they feel like, oh, I've been kind of talking about it, but suddenly it's almost like they just get moved into that next place. And so you are ready if you're already listening. I'm telling you this because as soon as you sign up, you're going to find, oh, here's the thing that was about to happen, which is why I've been thinking about getting coached, why I've been thinking about this topic. It's not just a coincidence. It's not. I promise you this because I see it every single time. And the best thing is when you stop fueling your life with these home projects, these endless lists of to-dos, all of the weekend activities, you end up being fueled by confidence, that deep confidence of actually knowing who you are and what you want. And as soon as you know that, you're on your way because you're that person who works hard once they know what you're working towards. And that is really important and that it matters. And then you suddenly have so much more fuel. And it's very normal. I think many of us think we're not supposed to have any fear. We're not supposed to have self-doubt. We're supposed to just take these leaps and think nothing of it. It is normal to have fear and doubt when you start thinking about making a change, whether it is a change to the organization or an alternative career path. Even just exploring it sometimes feels risky to you, like someone's going to find out that you're thinking about other things. I promise you, everyone is. And if they're not, they should be, because you're going to have some change happen in your life no matter what. So even a little bit of intentionality goes a long, long way. No matter when you get started, that fear and that doubt will be there. You're not going to be able to avoid it, but time is on your side. And I want to share that time is on your side because a lot of people think, okay, I only have this because it's been so long that I've been doing this thing. And that's why I have fear and doubt. And that is true, but it's also not true because no matter how much time has passed, you will feel that fear and doubt, which means that you might as well start now. I remember thinking I was so old when I was making my first career change in my 20s. The same thing happened when I was in my 30s. I was so old. When I coach clients on changing jobs or careers, they all express fear. They all express doubt. There's always that like hesitancy of, I'm not sure. The difference in making a career change, making job changes, and having more clarity is just not listening 100% to those voices. There are really smart ways to handle fear, really intelligent ways to handle self-doubt. You don't need to risk everything. And in fact, do not risk everything as you pursue your passions. This is what I advocate. I teach my clients to focus on sustainable career paths where financially they can figure things out so that they have both the money and the lifestyle they desire. They plan for it. They think about it. It's not just because suddenly one day they had a bad day and then they quit. We need to be able to have those checks and balances, not for you to stay in a toxic environment. I'm not talking about that. But for those of you who know that this change is coming and it's been coming and it's still on its way, this is the time for you to actually put the work into place to set yourself up. You haven't run out of chances. Your life doesn't just stop and end when you have kids. or you get a job. And I really want you to know that. Many times you think, well, I chose this one thing or I have kids. That's it. No more changes. It's never going to happen. If it didn't happen before, it's not happening now. No, so not true. Right? If you could remember one thing is that your life has not ended because you've made one choice and you're living that choice today. You are just at the beginning of your next thing, and time is on your side. And it is time to figure out what you really want. Not knowing is costing you. It costs you time. It costs you money. It costs you your confidence. It costs you your ability to market, to sell yourself well, to brand yourself, to know your story. It costs you a life where you could have been more wild and free in your authenticity of being who you are for just longer and getting better, more nuance, and more finesse at being you in different contexts, in different environments. And coaching is the guidance that is really helpful for career clarity. Coaching helps you to avoid common pitfalls of career changes. It helps you find your new path much sooner. It's not to say, here's what you must do. I'm not telling you this is the exact path you have to go on. But when we evaluate your paths and we look at paths together and we start suggesting things, look at it, I will help you avoid the common pitfalls. I'll also help you overcome the worries that keep you from doing what you're thinking of doing. And coaching helps you navigate those internal voices so you're more authentic in your personal branding and you can stand out more quickly and easily than others. Instead of trying to shape shift to whoever other people need you to be, you can just see how you fit to what they need, how you add value, how you're best fit for this thing. It doesn't feel like a convincing thing. You're just being you. And you don't need to spend years. Some people think it's like, oh my gosh, I need to spend like all this time thinking about this and just, letting it sit. You don't need to spend years figuring out who you are. You need clarity now. Even a little bit of clarity will go a long way right now in your work, creating more time and space with what you're doing today. You don't need a lot of time, but you do need to focus the time you have right now already, that you're doing all the things already in your 24 hours a day. You need to be able to have that consciousness to say, oh, as I'm doing all my things, what am I investing towards? I'm investing in my brain, in my growth, in my skills, in my life, because I know what I'm doing next and I know what I want next. And it's really important for you to actually see all the different milestones along the way, because a lot of times you get stuck and we think it's not working. I don't see any of the changes, when in reality, there is a ton of things happening and they all build up. And it's not until everything changes at the end, you look back and you see how far that you've come. Here are some things that you'll celebrate along the way of a career change. Falling back in love with your life everywhere and anywhere you go instead of escaping your life. So you're starting to find more moments of peace, more moments of quiet. Even though you're a really busy person, you're finding more of those. You won't be living your life through your kids, waiting for the time that you're just no longer busy to get back to who you are. You have awareness that life is happening now. You see that you figured this all out by deciding, not waiting. And you're so proud of yourself for making that move. And even if you die tomorrow, you won't die knowing that you didn't give it your best chance, your best shot, that you actually tried to live yourself into this life as true to yourself as you can. And you are now the person that other people see as inspiration. Instead of leaving people behind when you made the change, you actually realize that you just went first. And all of this happens when you say yes to being wild and free and embracing the authenticity in your own career. Now, to say that even with my life of responsibilities, of being a mom or a dad or a partner or a friend, my role as a worker or a boss or a leader or a manager, son, daughter, so on. I can do it now. I have to do it now. It is the most responsible thing for me to do because I was born to live a dynamic and creative life where I use my gifts, where I learn and where I grow, and time is always passing. And if I know with just a little bit more clarity today, the time that I already have could be used with so much more ease, grace, a feeling of just real deep engagement and being so much more energized and almost bold in how you're living. You weren't meant to live a life where you're just finding fun in things outside of you, like money and time, and complaining about other people or just being tired or angry. That's not your life that you are supposed to live. You're not destined to be this angry person or a frustrated and tired person because you're a mom or you're a working parent or you are a person that's just alive and this is how it always is. You will have your sources of self-doubt. You will have challenge. You will have all those things, but at least use it for you towards the life that you want. And you can actually change all of that today. So sign up for a coaching consultation to figure out what you want next, to move into that career, having that sense of authenticity, and to be able to find success while having your work and your life in a way that makes most sense to the lifestyle that you want today. We will make decisions from a place of confidence. And you will be fulfilled in both your work and your personal life. So you can sign up at www.mayempson.com/contact to get your consultation today. Love you, my friends. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmpson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayempson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.